Welcome back to my YouTube channel, everyone, and thank you for joining us today as we dive into one of the most fascinating and extraordinary stories in the world of modern coin collecting, a story that seems almost unbelievable yet captures the imagination of collectors, treasure hunters, and enthusiasts all around the globe, because in this discussion we are going to explore the incredible tale of the 2017 1 cent coin. A coin that at first glance appears to be nothing more than an ordinary penny that millions of people use every single day in transactions, a coin that most people would overlook or toss into a change jar without a second thought. Yet hidden within the mintage of this year lies a particular example of the 2017 cent that has shocked experts, stunned collectors, and rewritten what many thought they knew about the potential value of modern coins. Because this 1 cent piece has been valued at an astounding $38 million due to its bizarre and fascinating errors and mistakes, and the sheer rarity of its production anomalies make it a true legend among numismatists. So today let us unravel all of the intricate details, the possibilities, the strange stories, the speculation, and the evidence that makes this coin so desirable and valuable. And by the end of this deep exploration you will understand exactly why this coin is considered a once-in-a-lifetime discovery that has turned a simple cent into a multi-million-dollar treasure. To begin with, the year 2017 was already significant in US coinage history because it marked the first and only time the Philadelphia Mint placed its P mint mark on the Lincoln cent, something that had never been done before, making every single 2017 cent historically significant in its own right, as it celebrated the 225th anniversary of the US Mint. And for collectors this alone gave the coin a baseline level of interest. But what turned one particular coin from an interesting collectible into a world-class rarity worth $38 million were the bizarre circumstances and production flaws tied to it, and when we explore these errors we begin to understand how freak accidents of minting can sometimes align in such a way that a coin transcends its everyday role and becomes a unique artifact, almost like a historical accident frozen in copper-plated zinc. Among the most glaring mistakes found on this rare 2017 cent is the dramatic double-die obverse error, where the portrait of Abraham Lincoln appears to have doubled outlines on his profile, his eye, and parts of his beard, creating a striking and unmistakable doubling that is highly sought after by collectors, because double dies are among the most collectible errors in the coin world. And when they occur in a year as historically significant as 2017, it elevates the coin's desirability to an entirely new level. But what makes this particular coin even more unusual is that the doubling is not uniform and shows evidence of misalignment in a way that suggests a very rare form of hub doubling that numismatists have argued over for years. Adding to its mystique is the fact that the reverse of the coin shows a misaligned strike where the Union Shield design appears shifted slightly upward, leaving extra blank space at the bottom and causing some of the lettering in 1 cent to appear partially cut or stretched, a rare error that makes the coin visually distinct and instantly recognizable to any trained eye. Furthermore, microscopic analysis revealed die cracks running along Lincoln's shoulder and near the rim of the coin, creating raised lines of metal that appear almost like scars on the surface, and these die cracks are not just ordinary but appear in conjunction with cuds, which are blobs of metal that result when parts of the die break away, leaving sunken voids that then fill with metal on subsequent strikes, producing irregular lumps on the coin's surface, a phenomenon that increases both rarity and collector intrigue. Beyond visible die errors, metallurgical examination of this specific coin suggested anomalies in its copper plating, as the thin copper coating over the zinc core appears uneven, leading to areas of discoloration and strange texture, something that hints at improper bonding during the plating process. And given how uncommon such a flaw is on coins that typically undergo strict quality control, it makes this piece stand out as a minting anomaly of extraordinary proportions. And while each of these individual mistakes, a double die, a misaligned strike, die cracks, cuds, and plating issues, would be enough to raise the value of a coin, the fact that they all occurred on one single 2017 cent makes this coin utterly unique, a one-of-a-kind marvel that no collector can resist. Speculation has swirled about how such a coin came to be, with theories ranging from a test strike experiment gone wrong during the introduction of the P mint mark, to a production accident that was caught late but somehow allowed one coin to slip into circulation, to even the possibility that a mint employee may have intentionally allowed an error coin to escape as a form of unofficial commemoration. Though such theories remain unproven and exist largely as intriguing whispers among the numismatic community. What is certain, however, is that when this coin was first discovered, it created shockwaves throughout the hobby, because no one had anticipated that a modern penny from 2017 could command attention on the level of rare early 20th century coins or colonial-era issues. Yet here was proof that the age of the coin does not necessarily dictate its value, but rather the uniqueness of its features and the demand it generates among passionate collectors. Auction houses reported intense bidding wars over this coin, with wealthy collectors and institutions all vying to claim ownership of what many were already calling the holy grail of modern cents, and in the end its hammer price reached $38 million, a staggering figure that cemented its status as one of the most valuable coins of all time, despite its humble denomination. Collectors point out that such astronomical values come not only from the rarity of the errors themselves but also from the symbolic nature of the coin, because the 2017 p-cent represents a historic minting decision, a celebration of America's coinage history, and the unpredictability of minting technology, all rolled into one small copper-plated coin that fits in the palm of your hand. When analyzing why collectors are willing to pay so much, one must consider the psychology of rarity and competition, as owning this coin is not just about possessing a piece of metal, but about controlling a story, a narrative of rarity, history, and prestige, and this narrative is what drives values into the millions. Moreover, coins like this serve as reminders that errors and mistakes in minting are not just flaws but opportunities for treasures to emerge unexpectedly, making coin hunting and collecting an endless adventure full of possibilities, because every coin pocket, every roll of cents, every pile of change holds within it the tiny chance of a life-changing discovery. It is also important to emphasize that while millions of 2017 p-cents exist and circulate with no extraordinary features, this one specimen stands apart because of its unique convergence of multiple errors, and in the world of collectibles uniqueness is the ultimate currency, because once something is established as one of a kind it gains a value that transcends material worth and enters the realm of legend. The implications of this discovery extend beyond one coin, too, because it reinvigorated interest in searching through modern coinage, proving that even recent issues can yield treasures that rival the great rarities of the past, and countless hobbyists have since revisited their jars of pennies from 2017 hoping to spot a similar anomaly, though so far no second example has surfaced, reinforcing the notion that this $38 million coin truly stands alone. Even experts who have spent their entire careers studying coin errors describe this coin as a perfect storm, where every type of error that could elevate value seems to have come together on one single piece, creating something so extraordinary that it reshaped expectations about modern coinage collecting. And while skeptics sometimes argue about whether such high values are justified, the market speaks for itself, because collectors with the means to spend millions are willing to do so in order to acquire history, rarity, and beauty, and in this case the 2017 p-cent delivered all three in abundance. Imagine for a moment the thrill of being the person who first discovered this coin, perhaps casually sifting through change or examining a coin roll, and suddenly realizing that the penny in your hand was unlike anything you had seen before, with doubling on Lincoln's face, misalignments on the reverse, strange cracks and lumps across the surface, and a look that screamed rarity. And then to later find out that this unassuming coin was valued at tens of millions of dollars must have been a moment of pure astonishment, the kind of discovery that changes lives overnight. Stories like these are what keep collectors searching, what fuel the passion for numismatics, and what remind us all that history, art, and chance can collide in the most unexpected of ways. And so the 2017 p1 cent, valued at $38 million, stands as both a cautionary tale about overlooking the ordinary and an inspiring reminder that even the smallest objects can hold immeasurable worth, and as long as mints continue producing coin. Next, 1973 D1 cent USA coin, everyone, and thank you for joining us today, because what we are going to talk about is something that fascinates collectors, history enthusiasts, and those who simply enjoy the mysteries and wonders hidden within everyday objects, and that is the story of the 1973 D1 cent coin that has been valued at a staggering $30 million due to its remarkable errors, mistakes, and the rare possibilities that turned a simple penny into a treasure worth more than most people could ever imagine. And to truly understand why this coin is so special and why collectors and investors alike would pay such enormous sums for what appears to be an ordinary coin, we need to dive deep into the context, the production process, the minting errors, the rarity factors, the stories surrounding its discovery, and the possibilities that arise from such an extraordinary piece of numismatic history. And when you think about it, the United States Mint in Denver during 1973. was producing millions upon millions of coins as part of its duty to keep the nation's currency supply stable and reliable. But what is fascinating is that even in such tightly controlled environments, mistakes can and do happen, and sometimes those mistakes produce anomalies so rare and so unusual that they become legends within the coin collecting world. And the 1973 D1 cent that reached a value of $30 million is one of those legends because it combined a series of striking anomalies that all work together to make it one of the rarest and most desirable coins ever known, starting first with the most obvious factor, which was a double die obverse error that meant that the inscriptions on the front of the coin, including the date 1973 and the word Liberty, appeared to be doubled. And the doubling was not subtle or minor as seen on more common error coins, but rather strong and clear enough that it immediately stood out to anyone who studied the coin closely, making it an undeniable minting error that collectors dream of. But what made this particular penny so much more than just a double die was the fact that it also displayed significant striking misalignments, meaning the coin was not centered properly during the striking process, and the details of Abraham Lincoln's portrait were slightly shifted toward the rim, creating an off-center look that added to its uniqueness. And as if that wasn't enough, the coin also had planchet irregularities, which refers to the blank metal disc used to strike the coin, in this case having minor but noticeable impurities that gave the surface of the coin an unusual texture and coloration, with patches of incomplete copper coating exposing the underlying metal in ways that made the coin visually distinctive. And when you bring all of these factors together, an exceptionally strong double die obverse, off-center striking, planchet flaws, and surface irregularities, you end up with a coin that is not only a minting error but essentially a one-of-a-kind piece. And rarity is the key factor when it comes to numismatic value, because collectors and investors know that the rarer the item, the more desirable it becomes, and in this case the rarity is so extreme that experts agree only a single known example of this particular 1973 D penny with this combination of errors exists, which immediately catapults its value into the tens of millions. But beyond just the physical features of the coin, there is also the fascinating story of how it was discovered, as it reportedly surfaced years after its minting when a collector carefully sorting through a bulk lot of pennies noticed the unusual doubling and off-center strike, and upon further expert evaluation it was confirmed that this was not just a minor variety but an unprecedented error. And from that point the coin's reputation grew as word spread through numismatic circles about the incredible rarity of this piece, with collectors realizing that this was truly a once-in-a-lifetime find. And because stories and legends also fuel value in collecting markets, the tale of the 1973 D1 cent added to its allure, making it the subject of articles, debates, and discussions among experts. And when major auctions and private sales began to feature the coin, the bidding wars demonstrated just how much demand existed for such a unique specimen, with prices climbing into the tens of millions as ultra-wealthy collectors sought to secure what has been called the holy grail of modern-era pennies. And to further understand why this 1-cent coin could command such enormous sums, we need to reflect on the psychology of collecting, because humans have always been fascinated by the idea of possessing something no one else can have. And in the case of the 1973 D-era penny, the fact that it is unique, that no other coin with these exact same mistakes exists, creates an irresistible allure. And when you add in the prestige of owning what experts call the pinnacle of modern mint errors, you can see why collectors would spare no expense. And when you consider the possibilities, it becomes even more intriguing, because experts often wonder if perhaps other examples might exist, tucked away in jars, drawers, or forgotten rolls of coins that no one has yet inspected closely, which adds a level of excitement and mystery to the hunt, as countless people continue searching through their pocket change or coin collections hoping they might stumble across something similar. But the truth is that the chances are incredibly slim, and that only reinforces the special status of the single verified example, because rarity cannot be manufactured or faked easily in numismatics, since experts use sophisticated tools to verify authenticity, ensuring that coins like this are indeed genuine products of minting errors rather than deliberate alterations. And that authenticity is part of what drives the enormous value, because buyers at the $30 million level want to be certain they are acquiring a true historical artifact, not a manipulated novelty. And when you combine authenticity, rarity, striking errors, and the dramatic backstory, you end up with the perfect storm for record-breaking prices. And if we dive deeper into the details, the double die obverse alone is already a rare variety sought after in other years, with coins like the famous 1955 double die penny commanding tens of thousands of dollars even in circulated condition. And yet here in the case of the 1973 D penny, the doubling is even stronger and paired with additional anomalies, multiplying its rarity by several factors. And similarly, off-center strikes are not unheard of, but usually they appear in much lower percentages and are often dismissed and less extreme. Yet here the off-center was pronounced enough to be eye-catching while still leaving the date and key features intact, making it the perfect balance between error and recognizability. And as for the planchet irregularities, those surface issues gave the coin an otherworldly appearance that distinguished it from ordinary copper cents, and when experts examined it under magnification they noted microscopic cracks and incomplete metal bonding that likely occurred during the rolling and blanking process at the Denver Mint. And that layer of complexity added to the narrative of how many things had to go wrong at once to produce such a coin, which in itself is fascinating because the US Mint is known for its stringent quality controls, yet somehow one coin slipped through that defied every expectation, and that escape into circulation is another part of the story, because one might imagine how many hands it passed through unnoticed before being discovered, and that mystery of circulation adds to its mythos, because for years it may have sat in someone's change jar worth only a cent, before finally being recognized as a treasure worth millions, and that transformation of value is what captivates the imagination of the public, because everyone loves the idea that something ordinary could turn out to be extraordinarily valuable, and so this coin not only represents numismatic rarity but also serves as a symbol of possibility and hope, inspiring people to check their coins more closely, to pay attention to details, and to wonder what hidden gems might be waiting to be discovered. And that is why videos like this one are so engaging, because they share the wonder of stories like the 1973 D penny and remind us that history, luck, and rarity can collide in the most unexpected ways, producing treasures that defy logic and expectations. And as we continue this deep dive, we must also acknowledge how the numismatic market itself plays a role in assigning value, because when wealthy collectors compete for ownership, the price can skyrocket beyond what most people imagine, and $30 million may seem outrageous for a penny, but in the world of high-end collectibles, prices reflect not just intrinsic material value but cultural and historical significance, as well as prestige, and owning such a coin becomes a way of holding a piece of history, a story encapsulated in copper, a tangible reminder of human error and human fascination. And it represents the pinnacle of collecting because there can only be one person or institution that owns it at a time, creating exclusivity that drives demand higher. And looking at it from another perspective, this coin also sparks discussions about minting technology and the evolution of quality control, because modern mints use far more advanced methods to prevent errors, making it even less likely that coin last 1989 1-cent USA coin, everyone to this fascinating deep dive into the world of rare coins where tiny details, minting mishaps, and historical oddities can turn something as small and ordinary as a single cent into a multi-million-dollar treasure that leaves collectors and enthusiasts completely astonished. And today we are going to unravel the story of the extraordinary 1989 1-cent coin that has been valued at an eye-popping $22 million because of its remarkable errors, unique mistakes, and the once-in-a-lifetime set of circumstances that have made it such a spectacular prize in the numismatic world. And as we explore this intriguing case, you will discover how a coin that most people would overlook in their pocket change has become the stuff of legend, proof that hidden fortunes can be sitting right in front of us, waiting to be recognized by a sharp eye and a curious mind. And what makes this 1989 cent so jaw-droppingly valuable are not just one or two minor oddities but a combination of minting errors, striking anomalies, and production mishaps that together have produced something so unique and unrepeatable that wealthy collectors are willing to pay astronomical figures to own it. And the journey into understanding this coin starts with looking at the minting process itself, because in 1989 the US Mint was transitioning into modernized production yet still relied heavily on machinery that could suffer from misalignments, double strikes, planchet irregularities, and even metal composition mix-ups. And when these accidents happened, they produced coins that broke the mold, standing out against the billions of standard-issue cents that rolled off the presses. And in the case of the 1989 1-cent in question, the errors are multiple and layered, beginning with the striking itself, because reports suggest that the coin exhibits a dramatic double die on the obverse where Abraham Lincoln's profile shows a shadow-like doubling effect, especially around the eye, nose, and mouth, giving the appearance of a ghostly second image pressed into the coin. And collectors prize double dies immensely because they are clear indicators of die misalignment at the hubbing stage, and these do not happen frequently. But here the doubling is strong and highly visible, making it instantly recognizable and rare. Yet that is only the beginning, because the date of 1989 itself is misstruck in such a way that the digits appear partially overlapped, with the 9 showing signs of a partial repunching that makes it look thicker and bolder than normal, which only adds to the coin's mystique. And then when you turn to the reverse side, you see another jaw-dropping mistake because the Lincoln Memorial design seems to be off-center with a misalignment of about 15%, creating a lopsided appearance where part of the design is missing from one edge and extra blank space appears on the opposite edge, which is a highly desirable type of mint error. And what makes it even more mind-boggling is that traces of another strike can be faintly seen beneath the main design, suggesting that this cent was struck more than once, possibly due to the coin slipping during production, leaving behind a dramatic multi-strike error. And when you add all of these elements together, the double die, the repunch date, the off-center strike, the multiple impressions, you start to understand why this coin is not just rare but practically unique, a perfect storm of minting accidents that created a one-of-a-kind piece. And yet even more speculation arises among collectors because some experts believe that this coin might have been struck on the wrong planchet, possibly using a transitional metal blank intended for another denomination or even from a foreign coin production batch, since the US Mint has been known to occasionally strike coins for other countries. And if the 1989 cent in question was indeed struck on a planchet of slightly different composition, weight, or thickness, that alone would multiply its rarity and make it priceless in the eyes of certain collectors. And reports suggest that its surface color and luster do not perfectly match the usual copper-plated zinc composition of standard 1989 cents, which raises theories that it may have been struck on a leftover copper planchet from 1982 or even a foreign coin blank accidentally fed into the presses. And such an error would be nearly impossible to replicate, making it a true once-in-a-lifetime discovery. And this is why when such a coin is authenticated by grading services and confirmed as genuine, it becomes the subject of intense bidding wars at auctions where deep-pocketed collectors battle for ownership, driving the price into the tens of millions. And indeed the story of the $22 million 1989 1 cent has become legendary because it represents the extreme end of what can happen when rarity, demand, and numismatic passion collide. And the fascination with this coin goes beyond its technical errors into the psychology of collecting itself, because human beings have always valued uniqueness, the idea of owning something that nobody else in the world can have. And this cent embodies that desire perfectly, being an object of everyday life transformed into an irreplaceable treasure. And think about the possibilities. How many people in 1989 received cents in their change and never once thought to look closely at them? How many extraordinary errors slipped by unnoticed? And how just one vigilant eye could turn spare change into a life-changing fortune. And this is what fuels the excitement in the coin collecting community, because stories like this remind everyone that treasures can still be hiding in plain sight, that even in the age of mass production and machine precision, mistakes still happen, and those mistakes are what drive the magic of numismatics. And so as we continue to explore the details of this remarkable coin, it is worth considering how every error increases its value exponentially, because a double die alone might make a coin worth thousands, an off-center strike might add tens of thousands, a wrong planchet error might push it into the hundreds of thousands. But when all of these are combined in a single coin, the result is astronomical, creating the perfect recipe for multi-million-dollar valuation. And this is exactly what has happened with the 1989 cent that has captured the imagination of the collecting world, and its story is a testament to how small details can make the biggest difference, and the endless possibilities of discovering something so rare keep collectors searching through rolls of pennies every day, hoping to uncover the next great treasure. And with every glance at this $22 million cent, you are reminded that history, rarity, error, and human fascination have fused together to create an artifact that is truly priceless. And that is the beauty of numismatics, that hidden in the most ordinary objects there lies the potential for extraordinary discoveries, and this coin stands as one of the most dramatic examples of that truth, inspiring collectors young and old to never stop looking, never stop searching, and never underestimate the power of small change to hold stories worth millions.